Hello everyone, it's Amy and welcome back for week 11 of budget crafting. So, almost forgot what it was. So last week we made the jar and I had to let it dry before I put the ribbons on it. So I just thought I would show you what it looks like completed and ready to go. I love the way these turn out. So, but yeah, they are just such an easy thing. This was last week's video, and I just wanted to show you it all completed. So there is that completed. So today we are going to work on beads. And the thing with beads is that they're not that cheap. Even if you go to, Walmart or something and get a 99-cent bag or a $1.99 bag or whatever, they're a very small bag with a very small amount of beads and not much variety. So we are going to get some beads together for ourselves by just taking apart old jewelry. Now, when I go to secondhand stores or garage sales or anything like that, I always look and see what they have. A lot of times you can get just a bag full that's all knotted up for $1 or $2 or 3 or 4, whatever, but still very reasonable. If it's 3 or 4, it should be a fairly decent size bag. But but you can even just go to a regular garage sale and find, a nice necklace. And, well, if I can get this one out, find a nice necklace for $1 or something. And you think, well, I don't want to pay $1 for, like just one little bit of beads. But if you look at how many beads are on here, you've got a couple of large beads. You've got some seed beads here. Then you've got some medium-sized beads in these 3. You have some square and just actually, just shaped, like rock-shaped beads here. You have these ones here that are faceted, they're cut with the little flat sides on them. And in between them, 2 little seed beads on each one. Now, there's one in between those. But you get lots of different beads to help you do a project. You also get a piece of chain. You also get a lobster clasp. So if you were to buy that for $1, it would be worth it. And yes, you have to take them apart. But if you don't let it get frustrating, I find it very kind of just calming. It's just like, I like to use my hands. I like to do things with my hands. If I'm just sitting, I go crazy. So I like to be busy. So doing things like taking apart jewelry, I find it enjoyable. It doesn't have to be in a hurry. And actually, when you get done taking a necklace apart and you see all of your little piles, it's really fulfilling. So I'm going to grab a paper towel. So if you set them on something that's not, that has a, I don't know what I want to say. I usually set it on a piece of fabric or a piece of, just something that's going to catch the beads so they don't completely roll away. But, and then, you're just going to take them apart. Now, what I use is, well, I don't really use my round pliers. I use nippers to nip anything that's metal. And once in a great while, you need to unbend a jump ring or something. So you need a couple pair of pliers and a pair of scissors. And that's all you need usually to do it. So just start at one end. Let's see what's, okay, that is string there. It felt like metal. Don't want to ruin my scissors. There we go. So there's our big bead. And then what I'm going to do right from the start is I'm going to go right to the other end. Now this is going to make, I won't do that because it will make a mess because then your beads will start coming off both ends. So we'll get the clasp off later. Alrighty, so we started at one end. And then I'm just going to take one set of beads. Now I've got all of these seed beads here. So I'm going to take those seed beads and I'm going to put them here. Now, if you have little tiny dishes or something, those are also great to use. I'm not sure where those 2 beads came from. They were in the bag. So, and then I'm just going to take all of these green ones. The seed beads are falling off all of the other ends. So I'm going to collect those up and put them there. Because, and you think, well, that's not a whole ton. And you're right, it's not a whole ton. but it was enough to do this necklace. So, you know, there are times where you just, you know, you'd be surprised that, oh, I just need a couple of this or that, you know, so it's nice to have. And so this one is a really, really simple necklace to do. They're coming off nicely. Some necklaces have knots between every bead. So we're getting to the end here, and I'm going to grab those seed beads that are up there at the end and put those over here with these seed beads. And then a lot of times I'll take that string and cut it off to get it out of my way. So now we have all of these. And this one is wanting to come apart, so I'm going to take this one apart. Now this one, maybe I will just, I'm going to grab those seed beads. Maybe I'll just put all of these faceted ones together and not separate them by color or anything, because these are a different type bead than those are. And so I might keep these all in one compartment in my bead box. And if you don't have a box to put your beads in, we are going to make a bead box in a couple of weeks. So you'll have some place to store your bits and bobs. But don't go out and spend, like, you know, too much money. But if you go to the craft stores and you look at how much the beads are, you know, you get a strip about this long of beads, and you know, like, how much are they? If you can get good deals on them, then that's really great. But if they're quite expensive, those don't go there. You know, this necklace was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 strings, at least as big as what you get at the craft store. You know, as long as what you get at the craft store. So why not pick this one up at a garage sale for $1, have it give you something to do, especially if you're thinking, I want to do something, but I don't feel like being crafty. I don't feel like getting out anything messy. You know, then this is the perfect type thing to sit and do, because it's not really that messy. Oh, well, don't ask my husband out whether it's messy or not, because he's the one that does the vacuuming. So he's the one that vacuums up the ones that go on the floor and I can't find. I'm going to put all of these little, even the little tiniest, I'm going to put those together, and then I'm going to just put the seed beads right over there with those other seed beads. And they're a little bit smaller than the other seed beads, but that's okay with me. I'm going to keep them all together because they're all in the same color tone. And then, I mean, they're all just, they're taking themselves off the string, which is why they wind up on the floor sometimes. So you just want to have them sitting on something where they're not going to roll away. And then I just separate them. And they do have cheap little bead boxes at the Dollar Tree for $1. So you could get one of those, and maybe we'll go ahead and put these in here to get them out of our way. And of course, you can also just, like, take your string and just dump them right into the bead box after you have cut it. But I like these bead boxes that have the little tiny, tiny sections, because even if you have a lot of beads, they really don't take up that much room. So if you get the ones with tiny sections, you can keep your colors all separated. So see, you can just take your string, put the end of your string in there. I'm going to cut this off. It's a little bit long. I want it to be shorter so that I can get that right down in there, and then just start letting them fall off the string. Just be careful that, hold on to those seed beads, be careful that you don't lift the string out of the box, or they'll continue to come off the string, except everywhere. So there we go. And then I've got the 3 seed beads on that one. So we're going to put those there. And then we've got the brown ones. That one down in there. making sure that I keep the end of the string inside that little compartment because they love to pop out of there. Take the seed beads off of that one. And then there's a couple of red ones. Here's our last one. I put that right in here. Hopefully you could see that. I didn't look to see if it was in camera or not. Hold on to the seed beads. And there we go. Put the seed beads in one of these tiny compartments. And there is our really large bead, which I put the other one in there. And then we've got our clasp that we can reuse. And I'll put that right there. There's a few more of these. So look at how many beads we got with just that one necklace. I do know that I paid $1 for that necklace. It didn't come in a bag. And these are stone beads. They're, you know, or glass beads or whatever. They're not plastic. So, which it doesn't matter if they're plastic beads. Plastic beads look so nice nowadays. And a lot of times you can't tell the difference. And the thing is, if you're making a large necklace, you'll find that a lot of jewelry makers buy really nice acrylic beads, they call them. Acrylic is plastic. Because it's lighter. If you make a large necklace out of glass beads or rock beads or anything, or crystal beads, it's very, very heavy. So look at that out of just one necklace. So, you know, there's just, you can get so much out of it. So then we've got other types of necklaces. Okay, so see this necklace? We've got these big jump rings. Let's see if we can get that stuff out of the way. So we've got these very large jump rings. So we take those off and put them all together. And whenever you open a jump ring, don't ever pull them apart. Always just where the split is, move it frontwards and backwards like that. Just move them apart that way. Don't pull the ring apart because you'll never get it back together again. So I just moved one that way and one that way. And when you go to put them back together, you just do the same thing, just like that, and they line right back up. If you pull them apart like this, they never go back together correctly. And I usually just do leave them open because otherwise you just have to open them again when you're going to use them. So now we've got that big bead. We've got a couple of jump rings. Let's take this jump ring off and check out this chain around the other one. Not sure how that's hooked on there. Yep, it's hooked through the jump ring. So now, what I could do, because the chain goes through this little bead and it's got a jump ring on the top, I can go ahead and I can just close that back up so the chain doesn't come off. And I can keep that together to use as a dangle, or I can take it apart to have my jump ring, my bead, and trying to think if I want, I don't think I want to keep them together. I can always put it back together later if I want to. So I'm going to go ahead and take that apart. And I've got my jump ring, and I've got chain, and I've got a bead. And that's just, you know, this one, that's just how easy this one is to take apart. It's a matter of just opening up the jump ring and taking everything off of it. And some things are easier to take apart than others. And, you know, you'll kind of figure that out. And even if you're going to buy like separate necklaces or whatever, you know, like individual necklaces at a garage sale or a secondhand store, you'll get to know which ones are really hard to take apart or which ones don't really come apart hardly at all. You know, you almost have to break them apart or something. You know, so if you get them in a big junk bag, well, you get them in a big junk bag. But if you're going to make a choice as to whether to buy them or not, you know, you'll get used to which ones you like taking apart and which ones you don't. So now we've got this piece here, and these are all hooked together. I really do. These are jump rings. They do have a slit in them. I could take them apart, but I really like the way that looks. I could put a little charm on the very end where there's just one little circle left here. So I think I am going to leave that together. And am I going to leave it on the chain, or am I going to take the chain off? I think because there is a lobster clasp on each side instead of a lobster clasp and a jump ring. So I think I am going to leave that right on there like that, because that would really make a really cute dangle. Hang some more charms off of there. And so I'm going to leave those like that. And that's just, you know, like, that's just a way to decide. And then, you know, like, I will probably put the dangles maybe in a different container, so that, you know, things that are partly ready to use as a tassel or a dangle or whatever, those things I'll have in one box so that I'll know to look in that box if I'm looking for a dangle, and then put my metal bits in another box. And you know, and then the beads, you know, however you want to do those. Now these beads obviously won't even fit in there, you know, but I'll find a way to store those. These would fit in there. And then, okay, so then we've got this one. Now this one has got almost like an eye pin, which is a hoop on one end and then a pin. And then they put a hoop at the other end also. So for this one, I think what I would do, because I like them kind of as dangles too, I could separate the whole thing. But for this one, I think that I would just, it's got a loop. And it's just a loop. Sometimes they'll loop something and then go round and round and round with the wire. Those are the ones that are a pain to get apart. But this one just has a loop. So just open up the loop, which I didn't open it up. These are very tiny loops, so they're kind of hard to get a hold of just the wire part. So you're going to take those apart. And now I got it tangled up. So this wire is a very, there we go. I really had to like hold my pliers instead of just kind of pull on it. So these ones can be left just like this, or you can take them apart and have all of these little beads and then all of these long bugle beads for this whole necklace. But I kind of like those as a dangle too. So maybe what I'll do is maybe I will, do I want to take some of them apart? I can always take them apart even more later. But I'm kind of thinking I really like the looks of that. So I think I might just go in and just take these off and leave them together. I can take them apart even more later if it's like, oh, I really want that long bugle bead, or I really want that little tan bead. But I really also like the way that that looks. So, and then we've got this kind of a shell, mother of pearl shell type bead that's in the middle of them. And I usually do, when I have beads that are put together like this, where the bead itself has the like eye pin already through it, I usually do leave those on there in case I decide I want to use it that way. If I want to string it onto a string, I'll take that off. But if I want to attach it to a necklace like this, then it will already be there and I won't have to redo it. So I usually do leave those on there like that. And so then you just go through and take this one apart by just opening up the rings. And I usually open up one on each bead. I leave one hole and then open up the other end. I'll leave that one whole and open up the other end, because then it's just ready to attach to something. And so I'll go ahead and I will take all of these apart, and that will be that. Now these ones are very tangled. This one is put together with a piece of wire. Each of these, I think these are handmade beads, and each one of them has a loop that's into the middle of the bead, and then a wire is put through those loops to make this kind of like grape cluster. I'm going to go in that wire that's in the middle. There's a wire here, a loop of wire that the little round parts go through. I'm going to see if I can cut that. It's a really, yep, I can. Okay, so see, each of these beads has this loop on it, if you can see that. And so that's what they did, was they just put a wire through each one of them. Now this one is just like a regular bead that was at the very top. But so now I have all of these little like berry beads with a loop that's actually baked right into the clay of the bead, if you can see that. So, you know, this one's chipped a little bit, no big deal. If you want, you know, if you're going to use it for something, just put a little bit of blue paint on there. No one will ever notice. So now we have these little berries. We've got 2 regular beads and we've got the berries. Now, put those in one of these. Okay, and then there's a teardrop one here at the bottom. And I'm going to open that up. Is that? Nope, I can't open that up. It's put right down into the bead. I need to open up this jump ring. I'm going to take off this piece of wire and I'm going to throw it away. It's really not, it possibly could be used for something later, but I'm going to put that with the jump rings, and now we've got that one too, and we'll put that in the thing. Alrighty, and then also what came off of that was, here is a spacer bead, and another spacer bead, and a gold bead, and another gold bead. So now we have these. Now the gold beads are scratched off. Paint them, color them, do something with them. They don't, and these are little metal spacers. So I'm going to put the metal spacers here, because I think I'll put all of my metal stuff maybe in one box. And I'm going to take these 2 beads, and sometimes what I do is, if I have beads that I know need to be fixed, then I will put those in a different compartment, knowing that if I want to use those beads, I need to do something with them first because they're peeling or whatever. So, and then we've got this large one. When we cut this, we are going to wind up with all these little silver seed beads and all of these white pearls. And there's even a few different sizes. And so we'll have all of that in our box. Things like this work great for dangles. And so, you know, you can take them apart if you want to. They're not really that easy to take apart, but they are, as far as I know, they are like a jump ring. Let's see if it has a slit. Yep, it does have a slit right there. So you can just, you know, just like a jump ring, bend it apart from itself and take that off. And just do that so that you have them all, and then you can use them, you know, for a jump ring. You can use them for whatever it is that you decide you want to use them with. And you can just go ahead and then have all of those and have them ready to go. Or you can just leave it like it is. And let's say you want to make a dangle and you want to have maybe this much on there. Well, then you would just go to there. Take that one off, and here's another one because there's like 2 of them at each level. Take that one off, and now you've got something here that you can hang on your dangle, but it's only this long instead of as long as this hole. This was probably like a choker or something. And so you can do it like that. So what I'm going to do, and then you've got chains, bits of chain, awesome to use for charms. So go ahead and take things off of those and put them in your compartments. Here we've got another clay bead like the others, but this one's got some glass beads on it. It's got some, like, they're not spacers. I want that one. I want to cut this. Bead caps. It's got some bead caps on there. And so I can take it all apart and wind up with all of those bead caps, or I can leave parts of it together so that I can hang it on a dangle. This one, kind of the way it's put together, I will probably just take the whole thing apart and take off the bead caps. I want to get in between the bead cap and the bead where the wire is straight, and I'm going to go in there and I'm going to cut the wire that's in there. And it's just easier, you know, sometimes to cut it if it's a straight piece of wire. So that's going to go in the garbage. So I have these really pretty bronze bead caps and this really pretty, and that's a glass bead. Pretty sure. Could be plastic. They're so hard to tell nowadays. But so there's a couple of bead caps right there, and there's that bead. And here's 2 more bead caps. There's 2 more, there's 2 more. So there's a bunch of bead caps on this one. All these little bits of chain. Now that chain I will probably leave together to use on a dangle because that's very cool. And it's already there and already ready to add into a tassel or something. So I am going to take all of this apart. This one just has a string, I think, in the middle. It's hard to tell. I need to move things aside so in case it all starts coming off, I got a place for it to hit the... But it feels like this, it feels like it almost could be wire, or it's a very heavy string. It's a very heavy string. Okay, let's see. What do we have going on here? I'm not sure if these beads are glued on here or if they are... trying to see if I can see a knot. Because some necklaces will knot between all the... I think it's glued on. I think they put glue on that string to hold it all together, and that's why it feels so tight and so... it's very sturdy. So with something like that that's glued on, sometimes it's easier before you cut it apart, but it's hard to tell, is to kind of work them a little bit while it's still hooked together, because then you're not having them fall off. But look at this bead. Whoops. These beads are really, really cool beads. And they're metal beads, but they have a very odd look to them. I don't know if you can see that. They really are just an oval. They're just a round bead, but they don't look like they're a round bead. They kind of look like they have a flat part on them, and they don't. It's just the way that they're carved. It's just shaped like some kind of a seed. I don't know. So this is just the best way to get lots of beads for your stash. If you're looking at, like, well, so many people have so many beads. You don't need so many beads. These were only glued up towards the top. So I can leave that together. It's got a really nice lobster claw in there, a couple more jump rings. And so I can leave that for now. I won't use that. I'll just use the jump rings and the clasp, but it just kind of, or maybe I might even leave them like this, using that lobster clasp as the top of a tassel and letting these stay attached and hang down at the top of the tassel. Just like that, and then separate these out. So, and then these bars were also on the bottom of that necklace. Now this one is broken and it's kind of sharp and everything. I think I'm just going to get rid of that one. I could find something to do with it, but there are times where you just have to say, I think I can get rid of that. So that is, oh, and then this was a bracelet that had rubber band on it. The rubber band was broken. It had rubber string that went through it, but it has little holes all along the side. Those are kind of fun to put a jump ring through the 2 middle holes and then put some strings down the other holes, and you can make a tassel that way, or some kind of a dangle. Or you can just put them on so many things. These are great for mixed media art projects also because it's a nice metal piece. And also this would make a really cute, I might even try this someday. I was just looking at them. It'd make a really cute little book. Attach it together here, sew it together, and then figure out some kind of a little clasp for this side. And it could be a little book or a little, like locket or something. Those are really pretty. I like those. So then we've got those. And between each one of those, there was some more little brown beads. I just realized that a lot of these have the same coloring to them. Got the greens and the browns. Green, brown, and black, mostly. Oh, and then there's knots in the middle, I guess, so that they don't come apart of the knots on the rubber band or rubber string. So get those. And the thing is, if you get them cleaned up and get all the little stuff off them like that, it just makes them so much more. You look at them and you can see, like I never saw that little book, you know. But once I got them apart and I had two of them in my hand, it was like, that would make like a cute little book. And I just really think that it would. So, you know. But, you know, when you get them apart, you can see so much better as to what you can do with it. When you leave it all together, a lot of times, you know, you just look at it and think, it's just a pile of crap. Or there's nothing nice in there. And you start taking it apart and you start finding things like, oh, I really want to use this or I really want to use that. So always look at them that way, remembering that, you know, just because they made something out of it that you don't like anymore, you know, like it's not in style anymore or whatever. And that's the biggest thing, things that are really out of style. Those are the perfect things to pick up because then you take them apart and you've got all these cool pieces that, yeah, you didn't like the style of the necklace, but the pieces are really cool. And nobody else really has pieces like that because you're not going to buy them at the store right now because they're not in style right now. But you'll find out that some of those pieces are the coolest pieces and the pieces that other people will look at and say, where did you get that? You know, because you put it together in a whole different way and they really like the way that it looks. So there we go. That's it on beads. I hope that you enjoyed this video and I hope that you know, keep your eyes open for some good bargains on some old necklaces or old bracelets and, you know, that type of thing. And I hope that you find some beads that you really enjoy using in your projects. Thank you so much for stopping by. I really do appreciate it. And I hope that you all have an outstanding day. Bye-bye.